invite you everyone to come and adapt to organize this kind of, because we all love tennis, so it's good to have the opportunity to share. This is also a challenge for me because it's a kind of exercise that as a coach we don't have the opportunity to do, and I think it's important at whatever level to at one point to put your experience, to condensate your experience and to share with coaches and other people, because this is the base of our job, is like to transmit, to share, and to progress every day. So hopefully, this PowerPoint is based on my experience as a player, as a coach. So of course, it's not the truth. It's like everybody has his part. So hopefully, we will take one or two good ideas. And I think it will be interesting. I will take the time to talk about the slides, but I think it will be more interesting if we can interact. So don't hesitate if you have some questions. And I think if you agree, we can go like that. And just one parenthesis is I'm French. I'm from the southwest of France. I'm from Pau. It's a country of rugby. I'm a really big fan of the All Blacks, and I think it's the book, The Legacy of the All Blacks. It's something that inspiring a lot, in the sport, but also like in our team, because for example, Felix has two fitness coach. We are working also with mental coach, with two physio, with myself, and we have as a consultant we have Tony Nadal also since 3 years now. And the legacy, the book of the legacy of the All Blacks is really like something that we are discussing together, and we are trying to extract good everything that is of course very valuable inside. Okay, so let's start. So of course it's about player and coach development and to perform under pressure. It will be the last part, like more like effective, what the players can do on the court to be able to manage the pressure. So yeah, like Adam said, I was a long time ago a player. I played here in '92, and I reached 59 ranking, and which was really interesting for me after my career. I wanted to transmit, my experience as a player, but at the same time to learn how to coach, because it's not because you have been a top 100 player that you have the ability to coach. It's something that you need to learn, and I was lucky after my career to open an academy with my coach, and it took me like 8 years to learn how to coach, to develop how to transmit the technical fundamentals to the player, to change the grip, and I think it was for me was very important because I didn't go right away after my career to tour and coaching. I think I did a good choice to learn to coach, and then my experience as a player was a plus. So I did with Jeremy Sharpie. He's also from Pau, so he was 12 years old until top 30 in singles. During 11 years, we were like together, from 12 to 23 years old. After I worked with Caroline Garcia during the junior, during 2 years. So I was working with his dad, because his dad was also his coach at this time. So it was interesting also to see to coach WTA girl was also like very interesting for me in my experience. And after Tennis Canada called me to make a try with Vacek Pospisil. At this time he was 20 years old. He was like 140, 150, and we made it together. Number 4 in doubles and 25 in singles during 4 years. We had a collaboration. It was also a good experience for me because to work with like a foreigner player, French, was also interesting because I was coaching in English, even if my English was a good sometimes, but it was really good. We had a really good time, and naturally, because after we decided to split together in 2016, and naturally Tennis Canada said, okay, we have a group of young players that they are like big potential. Of course, they have Felix, Shapovalov, and another one who went to we didn't make pro. He went to the university. He was Sigouin, Mr. Sigouin. So then I started another challenge with Felix. He was 16 years old. Of course, he started like with the junior. He won the US Open Junior, and after he went fast transition of the future challenger. We did that together, up to number 6 in the world. And like I said, the last 3 years we have Tony Nadal as a consultant because we wanted to have in our team. I never won a Grand Slam as a player and as a coach, so for me it's also a dream. And it's a goal for Felix, so we decided to contact somebody, or a player, or a coach who did that. So we did a list together and we chose Tony Nadal. And so far, Felix did the semi-final in US Open, 2 times quarter-final in Wimbledon, and once in the Australian Open, and the last 16 in French Open, so and number 6 in the world. So there is still a gap to win the Grand Slam. So now we can go into the subject. So first of all, it is very important, and if you know what is about ATP, WTA, but the ATP Tour and WTA Tour is particularly the season is very long. Like you know, it starts. We left Monaco because it's our base. To come here, we fly on the 23rd to go to Sydney for the United Cup, and most of the time the season stops in November after Paris-Bercy or Davis Cup or Master when you are qualified for the Master at the end of the year. So the season is from late December to November. So and of course between 20 and 30 competition depending on the players, losing almost every week plus the exhibition because the Labour Cup, you know, there's few exhibitions that the player wants to do because, of course, it's about their sponsor and also to make money to continue to invest in their tennis. You know. So that means that it's 40 weeks out of home, and that means overall it's when you are on the tour, the first big challenge is like the scheduling because you don't have when you look at that, you don't have time to develop your player. You know, you really have like a conflict of interest, like there is so much competition and you don't have time to develop. And as a coach, what you want to develop your player. So there is always like, I don't know the word in English, like with the agent, you know, with the schedule, with the player who wants to play. And so it's really like the first big challenge. And of course for the players, it's like, you need to be healthy, you need to have resilience, you need to have strong adaptation. Tennis, with all those jet lags, traveling competition, it's really, adaptation is really important. And that's why we'll see after how we can build like a player who is able to adapt and not like to be too much square and not able to adapt in a different situation. Is there any question? So then after the second thing is like it's a very competitive individual sport. I'm not talking about doubles, but mostly about the singles. Of course, there's a lot of exposure, media exposure, because there's a lot of prize money, you know, at the top. But like you know, in tennis, the players are their own boss. You know, they are their own company. They are really young. You know, there's a lot of expenses when you start. You really can make money and win your life when you are in the top 100. Out of the top 100 is very difficult because the expenses and the price money, the expenses are big and the price money are very low. So ATP they are improving. WTA also they try to improve, but ATP I can say from my time they are improving a lot year after year. So that means there is a kind of not a conflict of interest, but you are when you are a coach, okay, you are coaching a younger boy or girl, and he's paying you know, and sometimes so that means you need to tell the things that he doesn't want to listen, you know, and especially in a crisis moment when there's injury or when the player is losing. So this position is really specific in tennis, maybe in golf also. But the coach is not, in one way, is not the boss, you know, is the employee of the player, of the tour. I mean, when they are young in the development, it's different. You are in the academy or in federation, the position is different, but there's like a big switch. When you go on the tour, the coach, that's why it's really important to, of course, to develop experience, but also to develop a kind of independence from your player, because at one point, if you don't have like yourself stability, I mean, it's also a challenge with the family. I have 2 kids, and I'm married since more than 20 years, so I'm lucky that I have a good balance, because traveling 40 weeks is a big challenge for the coach and for the family. So now I'm traveling a lot because this is the right timing, because my kids are 21 and 20, so they are not at home anymore. But what I'm saying is like it's really like important to, as a coach, to think about that, you know, to have this always this kind of balance, independency, because the switch is really important. And of course, there is also this kind of, we are working on the open desk. That means you have, when we are practicing, most of the time there is like the agent, you know, there is a girlfriend around. It's really rare to have when you are at the tour, in the top 20 especially, because there are a lot of media, etc. To have a time with your player. It's a challenge. So that's an open desk. That means it's this is a kind of different when you are with a player, when you are developing a young player, than when you are on the tour. We can talk about that. So that means, of course, for the player, it's the basic like adaptation, strong instability, adversity, pressure. This is the deal about the things at the high level. But of course, there's a lot of positive things. You know, we are. For me, I love tennis. This is my passion. I decided to do that. So there is a lot of emotion. There is the adrenaline of when you are winning. You know, when you are a player and when you are a coach, it's the same. You know? So at one point, we are a little bit addict of that. And of course, what I like in coaching, it's like you are building your player, you know, in different domains. You are like a kind of architect, and this is something that myself I like to build this kind of structure. Is there any question? No. So then, of course, tennis is an internal battle against you know, because it's individual sport, so you are like confront with your emotion, you know, with your feeling, with your thoughts. So it's you against you, but there is also like the external battle, the job, against an opponent who is adapting during the match, you know. And also as a coach, you need to follow the game, the evolution of the game, you know. And that's really important to be aware of that. I bring few stats. If we have time, I can show you more because we are working with, of course, now with statistics. I mean, almost all the top 50 players are working with statistics person. So I bring some few ones, which, for example, this one. It's last year, Felix finished, unfortunately, he has his, not a good year, he finished 29, he was struggling with a lot of injuries, so he won 50.7% of the points during the year. And to be number one, Djokovic is 54. And when Felix finished number 6 in 2022, he had like 22.5, so he was number 6. So that means the difference in a year, it's like very small difference in the percentage of points that you are going to win. And this is, every year it's the same. It's like not like, it's every year it's the same ratio. So that means it's really about like small details. And of course nowadays I do the rally length because it's important to be aware about the match. Of course you know that the rally length in modern tennis now, so I took the men because I don't have the stats with the women, so the women is less, but 65% of the points is between 1 and 4 shots. So it can go for example, clay, it goes 60%. On the grass, it's 70%, or indoor, it's 70%. And 20% 4 to 8 shots and 50. This is the ratio, and I put that here. This is the top 10, average top 10. That means the average top 10, 1-2 shots is 35% between 1 and 2 shots. So the 80% of the first shot is like, it's crucial. So this is also a parallel that is something you need to be aware and to work, because most of the time, and myself also, we are spending a lot of time doing some drills from the baseline, which is good, but you are, the game is 65%, it's one serve, one shot. You know, it's important to be aware of that. And of course, the speed shots and the activity, the average top 10 forehand is 125 kilometers, 110 for the backhand, and more than 200 on the serve. That means nowadays, and this is interesting because we have discussion with Tony Nadal about that, because it's more from before, that you have time to build the points, go on clay, etc. But now the tennis is more and more about execution. It's instinct, you know, it's reflex. Of course, you can think between the points, or what tactically, what can I adjust, you know, when I'm going to sit down at the changeover. But when the ball is in play, you don't have time to think. It's too fast. So it's also important in the player development to make the player understand that when you start to think too much, then you are slow. You know, because it's about reflex, and then it's the wrong brain is working, you know, the left brain and the right brain. You know, it's, you have to be aware about that in the player development. It's really really important. Is there any question about that? I hope I am clear enough.
What do you teach instinct mode?
Sorry?
How do you teach or train instinct mode?
That means instinct mode is like we'll see after, or to prepare your player to separate when it's working technically, because when you are working technically, you are like in a mode that, okay, I'm thinking what I'm doing, and after in points, you don't have to think. So that means it's really important to work, to be really clear when you practice, to really identify in which zone you are working with your player. Like this, your player will be able to go from the think mode to change something technically and to go to the point. Because this is something crucial at the top level. We don't have time to work on the technique, you know, but you have to, because you have to clean it up. So then with the experience, you have to manage well the session. You know, for example, with Felix, we are doing, for example, work on the back-end technique, because we want him to go from this preparation to be more here. There's a lot of tournament, he needs to win. If we start too much to win the technique, then you need to pick, okay, 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day to work on that, to make him feel like this. You change slowly by slowly the pattern. But you have to manage really well all the session. This is an alchemy that you have more time when you are in the player development, because you have, when you are under 18, there is less competition, so you have time to do blocks of technical, biomechanical change. But at the high level, so it's important to be aware of, like, I don't know if you are aware about the laterality. Laterally, when you are left eye dominant or right eye dominant, it's really important for me, because I work with Paul Doroshenko, he's a French specialist about that. And it's really important at least to have the notion of that. Like this, you will gain a little bit time. I take an example. For example, Frederic is left eye dominant, so that means he can see always the ball in forehand. The natural is like the hitting point for him is natural to be there. For the right hand dominant, it's not natural. So that means there is like tools. You need to have like more the left arm to create like a space for the right eyes, to create a space. So there's that kind of things like that for the rotation, shoulder rotation. So if you are interested, there is like some books about that, and there is like now some specialists that they can test the player, and then they give you, okay, the schema of your player, and then you can understand why naturally under pressure the backhand is more solid. Djokovic is more solid on the backhand since he was young, because it's the same age of Chardy, so I know it well. The backhand was always like natural, good timing, and the forehand was a little bit less. And not always, because it's not like a square, but most of the time it's a lot about the left eye and right eye dominance. So, but it's something that is moving fast because with the neuroscience, that it's also like important that we know more and more how the brain is working, and like this, I will say for me, it's when I was a young coach, okay, you see your player he doesn't have the right timing, the hitting point, and then you try different things, but you are forcing. And nowadays with the compression that I have of the body, I can be more efficient for the ball because I'm not going to go in some way that the player is forcing, and then so it's important to be aware of that. So yeah, access to the high level for coaching, because I guess how many of you would like to go to the high level? How many of you is it a goal? So just one? So two? No, because it's important. It's not you can raise a coach like there's a coach for the development, under 14, under 12. There's a specialist in every age. So of course, because it's what my experience is based on that, so that's why I'm doing this course. But it's a slide was just about like the access to the high level for coaches. There's like 4 main streams. It's like individual project. That means when you are in your club, you're a kid, and you do the development, and the parents are trusting you. You have the ability to do that and to follow the path, which is difficult because it's very long. But this is one thing. And most of the time, you have been a former pro, and you have the legitimacy, which I'm not completely a big fan. For example, in France, they are the habits to take right away, the former player and to coach the young ones. For me, if I was working with the federation, if I was in charge of the under 16, for example, center, I will say, okay, there's like some good player, coach player development, that they need to do the work at this time with the technical, with the education, and not like a former player going right away with 16, because he's going just to reproduce what he was doing. He doesn't know how to, most of the time he doesn't know how to transfer his knowledge, because it was more about the feeling. He doesn't know, it's a job to coach. So that's really important for me. Former pro player, they can go like right away with top 50 player if they have the experience, but not going with the development player. I prefer like a former pro is taking the time to educate himself and to learn how to teach, how to coach. And of course, it's federation, academy, like I think most of you are working for academy and federation. And sometimes in WTM they're also eating partner, and they are eating partner on the tour, and then by experience they are becoming like a coach. Question? Okay, so of course it's important to learn the theory, but it's important to learn from the core, to learn with your players, to create your methodology, which I'm trying to do because I will be 54 this year. It's very important to sometimes to reflect on yourself and to say, okay, what is my methodology? I think it's really important to do that. And as a coach, I will recommend this. Often there's some coaches who are asking me, some advice how you become like a coach on the tour, etc. So I think it's really important to work on your proper career as a coach. Like a player, you want to be like a Russian, but as a coach, it's really important to have a plan, to be aware, to share the plan of your career, because like this, if you know where you want to go, it's better like this. You are going to have, you can make the things right. Of course, the second pillar is like improve the tennis knowledge. I prefer, like, for me, I think it's really important to be a good generalist, because at one point, if you go to the high level, you are not going to be good everywhere. You're going to be an expert in biomechanics, in in statistics, in fitness, in mental. You need to have a good notion of everything, be a good generalist. And like this, you will be able to pick an expert in biomechanics, an expert in fitness, and you will be able to shoot, because if you don't know about fitness, how it works a little bit, then you are going to pick somebody, but then when you start, and you start to know if it's not good, you start to change. So this is something really important, and of course to share what we are doing today. It's really important for me, I hope for you also, but for me it's really, when I can, I try to read books, different sports, to educate myself, and this is a non-stop process, because for life it's the same thing, but for competition, things are going very, really fast, so we need to always share, learn, and this is really important. Of course, the last one is connecting with what I said. For me as a coach, I try to be an example, you don't have to be perfect, but when you are talking about nutrition to your player, I try to eat, properly, diet, to do some sport, to stay healthy, because I think to be an example, because you have a role of educator also when they are young, but also, for example, with Felix, I have good relation with the parents, and they are really. For them, it's really important to be a good person before to be a good tennis player. And so, as a coach, you have your role to be a good educator, because we have discussion, because I'm spending more time with him than with my wife or kids. So you are at the restaurant with him, you have discussion about life, about politics, about whatever, and it's really important to have this role, because it's you are older and it's important. And of course, the last things, which in my time I was at top 100, but I was running maybe 10 weeks with my coach, because the price money was low at this time. But nowadays, top 100, top 50, they are like 4 or 5% around the player. So that means the role of the coach is really different now. You are of course, you are the coach on the court, but you are, most of the time, you are managing the fitness, the mental, a lot of person around. So that is a skill, communication, that you need to learn, and you need to have that in your skills. Questions? No? Okay, so then after is we go in the point of how to do, of course the challenge is to build an anti-fragile player. I like this anti-fragile. I don't know if you read the book of Nassim Taleb. He's like a former trainer, and he wrote this book anti-fragile that I recommend. And he's talking about how to build an anti-fragile system. And this is really interesting, because tennis, the road is so long, it's so competitive that you need to be anti-fragile. That means, when you are not going to break, you have to be resilient, you need to learn from every situation, you have to bounce. And the player, the coach, the team, they need to go in this way. And of course, it's like four dimensions, the other dimension, but the main one is mental, emotional, physical, technical, tactical. And at different, we see that at the end, at different stage of the career of the player, before 12, between 12 and 18, transition to the tour, and the tour, but it's like you will be able to work specifically more on those four dimensions. Yeah, but the main challenge is that. Is there any question? Something not clear? Sorry? So it's anti-fragile. Anti-fragile. Yeah. And he wrote a few books, because in anti-fragile there is also skin in the game. Skin in the game, he's talking about the responsibility, and it's really interesting. So there is also every player, when you start to work with a young player, you can see that some have good coordination, some not, some are good mental skills, so the DNA is really different. But what I observe with my experience is the ones who are achieving the best of themselves, the one they are like consistent in the determination, in the motivation. This the big difference is there, and also because we have some conversation with Tony and with Rafa, and the last question last year I asked Rafa, what makes you like a top player, and not like what is the difference between you, a champion, and a top 10 player? And he said to me that in the bad days he's able to find the world of victory. So it's really like about like this consistency, this attitude, this determination, and of course to find your purpose, which everybody is different. It's better when you have like a purpose that like Rafa, they want to mark the history of the tennis, you know, because if the purpose is just the money, then at one point you need a lot of money, so then your fuel is going down. So this purpose is really important also. So that means a player has also their own timing. You know, there's some players that are really good when they are young, you know. So it's really important to, as a coach, to respect that everybody is different. Every player is different, you know, every family. I like to work with the parents because it's really important to that. It's important to when you work with player development in this period. For me, it's really important to work with the parent because you need to understand the family. You need to make sure. It doesn't mean that of course you have to educate also the parents that when you are going to interact. Because I know that some parents are like too much into it. You know, they want to be the coach. But it's really important. I have 2 kids, and when you have kids, when you are parents, you want to do well. So it's really important to work with the parents. We have prefer like because you cannot put beside the parents like that. You have to do it. I know it's a big challenge sometimes, but it's really important to communicate and to do a frame. Okay, what we are going to decide together. You know, I did that with Jeremy Chardy, and it was really important. And after, when they see, okay, there is a clear frame, you know, because at one point, as a parent, if you want, it's really good that you can be on the court when your son is going, or your daughter is going to win a big tournament and to be there. But, so for me, it's really important. Yeah, attention, time, and relation. There is a good book about that. It's Talent Code. Talent Code is so now with the science we know that what makes like a player which at the top level or an expert is like the myelin. The myelin is like from the brain to the muscle. There's like a cable, you know, and when you do something in deliberate practice, or when you repeat something with a lot of attention and passion, then the myelin is like you know, it's more and more like bigger and better quality. So that means at the most simple, it's to repeat a lot with attention, with focus, and with passion. Then you are deliberate practice. When you have like a kid who's going to do some serve by himself, it's a good sign because he's doing deliberate practice and he's really like. And then after you have to drive him, and correct him technically if he needs. So this is Talent Code is also a good book explaining that in different sports. It's a guy that in the experimentation in different sports. Why, for example, in Brazil there's like a lot of good soccer players. Why in New Zealand they have like rugby the culture, you know, but there is like also interesting thing inside. Okay. So then after there is like interesting at the competition with the tennis is like the player he wants the results. Okay, the player is normally you are a player you want to win. If you lose, you are not happy. So this is the main thing. So then as a coach, you have to bring him back as much as possible, not 100%, but in the process. That means the result is the consequence of what you are going to do in the practice, in the preparation, and the coach is the guardian of that. Because, of course, with the age, the player you are going to do it with the player to build the process, but when they are young, You know, they are listening, they are sponge, you know, and they want to win, they want to. So you have to deal with those two forces, and also with those two forces, you know, the desire to win and don't want to lose. It's when we in 2017 we did an off-season with Roger Federer and Felix invited us to be the sparring when Felix was young, and it was interesting that because we were talking about this subject, and he told us right away, me the difference between me and Murray, me I want to win and him he doesn't want to lose. So that means, of course, you know that there's like some players that they like to attack, some more like defense, they want to don't make mistakes, so they will be always like not 100%, but there will be those two forces, and also those two forces when they are going to improve. And sometimes they are going to play their game more free, and when they are going to be successful, most of the time they are going to start to be conservative. They are going to be in the position of they don't want to lose. This is something at every level that you are going to experiment. Felix is always when you have results, automatically the instinct is I want to conserve, and the best one, they are able to keep their ID, you know, Murray or Federer or Nadal, you know, but like always like to have like intention to don't be too conservative. Because at the most simple also in tennis, if you are too aggressive, you are going to do a mistake. If you are too passive, you are not going to win, but you are not going to improve, and the other is going to have the domination. And so it's always like at the simple thing is like you have to adjust every point your level of aggressiveness. Some questions? I try to go a little bit faster. So yeah, there's few education pillars that I think for myself there's much more, of course. But like during the path of the player development, learn from the victory and the defeat. You can learn from the victory, you can learn from the defeat. It's really important to do feedback, not just when the player is winning or losing. You have to treat the both at the same level, because sometimes you can win, but in the attitude or in the tactics, it's not going to be in the right direction. Good balance, of course, humility, resilience when you are down, not too much up and down, because the tennis is like a roller coaster. So if you, every week you are going to lose except for Djokovic, you know, so if you lose and you go down, then you will take like 2 days, 3 days to go back to the practice. It's not possible to have this up and down. Of course, like we said before, discipline, repetition, it's a game of repetition. Of course, the right repetition is also another challenge, but repetition, you cannot escape the repetition. So that's also important nowadays with the kids, you know, with the social media, the Instagram, etc. The level of attention, the level of focus is amazing, it's going down. So, and the tennis is the opposite. You need to have a lot of repetition, a lot of attention. So there's a kind of conflict of interest, and also at the high level, because at the high level, the top battle on the court is in conflict with, they are winning a lot of money, everybody is putting attention to the player, oh, you have something up on the agenda, the tournament, of course, because it's important, and they want to make the player really comfortable, but the competition is like out of the comfort zone. So for the coach, it's always important, of course, to be aware of that and to have a little bit of fight all the time with the player, like to make him come back in out of the comfort zone. So this is it's also important when they are young to be aware of that, because when they take the habits of that, it's difficult to coach, because when you are going to tell your player, okay, feedback, whatever, technical, tactical, and if you start to do like that, as young, it's going to be more and more. And for me, for example, Djokovic is not good. It's not a good example for the young. So like to treat the box like he's doing. You know, we know that he is a good person with the coach, and they know him, but it's not a good example, because the young player, they are okay. I'm talking about to Moradizaville during okay, so I can do the same, you know. for me, it's not good. It's not good. It's not a good example, and it's important when they are young, like to be really strict like that with that. That they respect the coaching team. They have to need to respect themselves, the players. Doesn't mean that they are going to fight and to find a way of victory, but like I think it's a really important point. Responsibility, as much as possible, because we know that, yeah, to put the responsibility, okay, there's a bad bounce, there's a wind, there's always something outside of the control. You have to bring back the players, okay, take your responsibility. Okay, we are going to talk about why you can improve to be more precise, and don't put your mistakes, don't put the mistake in something that is out of your control, because you are losing two times. You are losing the right feedback, and to have, because in the mistake, if you take the responsibility, inside there is like a solution for the next shot. If you let your first session go, you are not going to cap the information in the mistake. So this notion of responsibility is really important. And after, also, which is really important, is like you work, you repeat, but you never know when you are going to have the result. It's like delay improvement. It's when we are working with a player, with Felix, we work on something. We believe, you need to have the conviction that it's the right thing to do. We work, but you don't know if it's going to work in Auckland this week for him, in Australia, and it's not magical, because when you are working on something, if you are not in control of what you do, like step by step, like control of the ball, the movement, control of the ball, the movement, control of the ball when you are playing points, if you have the practice, you are not checking those things, in match, it's not going to come. So it's really important to make sure that all those things are really clear for you and for your player. Yeah. If I'm too fast, I'll tell you and try to. So then the planification, it's really, really important, because preparation is the key. You're not going to play well in match. It can happen once, but if you're not prepared, there's no magical solution. So then you have to build, as a coach, you are responsible with your team to plan the practice period, and the competition period, and the rest. The rest is really important. Also, with KPI, performance indicator. Even now we have all the technology now to know the statistics, the movement, catapult, the movement. There's a lot of technology now to use, the Darfish Express, very interesting with your iPhone, you have Darfish Express, you can film, and you can measure the angle for the biomechanic. So it's $20 the iPhone, it's something that I'm using a lot, simple, and you can track the evolution of the biomechanic, and you can show fast to your player. Catapult is a tool also with a lot of different things, the video. It's really important to have to build your indicator like this, your work, and you can measure, and then you show to your player. It's important. Body mind is a notion that you, of course, already heard about that. A lot of the coach and player are talking about that. The first time that I heard this concept was in the late 80s, like a coach, a Spanish coach. And now Alcaraz is saying that differently. It's more like it's like the heart, the body, the heart, and the cojones. So, but it's about like the energy, the total energy that you have. It's like the heart is like the emotion, the emotion part. The body, of course, is the fitness level. The mind is the mental. You need to. They are acting like batteries, because when you do a tough match, you are going to be exhausted. 5 sets in the hot weather. You are going to be exhausted physically, emotionally, and mentally. So then, with the time, you need to know with your player what you are going to do to recharge those batteries. So with the time, with the preparation, okay, for example, with Felix, we know that when he's emotionally like a little bit down, it's important like to have some more rest, that his family is coming with us in the tournament, or his girlfriend, that he has time with them on the tournament, to have dinner with them, not with the team all the time. Mentally also, like to see a movie, for example, to have an activity. That's important, and in fitness it's more simple. We know that it's the recovery, the ice bath, massage. But it's really important to figure out we are really like batteries, and it's important to stimulate and to recharge. So now there's a lot of tools that you can use on your computer. Yeah, so now we go like in a subject that we are talking about. Like it's very important for me. I separate my practice, in those blocks with the two blocks: accuracy, game on, and competition. And I try to don't mix in my practice. I try to don't mix up those three things. So I'm going to explain now the difference. For me, the toolbox is really when you are going to learn new skills. You are going to work on the technique, upper body or lower body, all the biomechanical skills. So it's really important, because if you want to change the pattern, the player, if he's playing with a player that is in competition with, he's going to want to win the points. He's not going to want to change the technique. So it's really important to get him out of the outcome. So that means, of course, the basket. And the basket is important to do some baskets, but to do that, to make him feel, to show the video, to really detach him from the outcome. Because then the pattern, from the brain to the muscle, the minute, you are going to keep it in the same. So you are not going to change. So it's really important to make it a player. For me, of course, a player that more they visualize, they feel, they smell. But tennis, most of the time, the channel is like they have to feel, because if you are talking, okay, for example, Felix, we are trying to make the preparation from here backhand more internal. Okay, when I say that, okay, but for the player, he has to feel. He has to feel. So there is some techniques that we are using with neuromotricity. For example, we know that now the eyes when they are moving, most of the time, if the system is not excellent, the eyes and the main muscle, because the eyes they are useful for the stability. But if your system is not clean, you are going to use the big muscle to do the adaptation of the stability. So then, when you are changing the technique, it's really important that to do it with the feeling and with the eyes. So it's difficult for me to explain that. It's a new Sinner is working with that. Zverev, long time we are working with this kind of things. A little bit when we want to change something. For example, you need to feel, the player needs to feel the position, and at the same time, you need to make him track an object, like this is feeling, and the new pattern, normally the brain, the body is recording well. So that's the... Yeah, so for example, when he was younger, when I was working with, the preparation was there. I take a racket. So preparation was like this, and for us was good when he was younger. And then the evolution like Alcaraz, he was starting to, Alcaraz, the preparation is there. So that means, because he's dropping a lot the wrist, Felix, that means it's difficult to go from there, drop the wrist, not the wrist, to have like precision. So since 1 year, because the competition and the season, we try to go there, like that, Rafa Nadal. Sinner also is doing that, Then you can go from the inside to the outside. And to go from the outside to the inside, for him the accuracy of the backhand is also and it's not easy to change. Because it seems like from the outside, because of course as a coach we see, we are working with biomechanical guy. It's obvious that every player, you can see that they can improve, but to change, it's a big challenge because of the time. So then with your young player, you have time to work technically. It's really important. And for me, before 15, it's better to have like a solid technique. But it's not like the right technique, because when you see Medvedev, maybe not going to teach this backhand, but you have to judge if this backhand is going to be good at the high level. For example, Chardy, when I start to work with him, it was he has like a grip, really like extreme grip, and all the coaches were telling me, oh, you have to change the grip, because he's not going to be able to play. And in one way, I was aware that I had to see if the efficiency of the shot is going to be good, at every stage, and it was the case. And I was really aware that to don't go like this, to always make him work from there and to transfer the body weight to keep this. And then he was able to play on the grass, to good result on grass, on fast, every court, even with because he's really this the whip here. So this is, and this you have time, you can do block on 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks when they are young, and with the top players, that's the challenge. You have to do 15 minutes every day at the right time. Like this they don't, because when you start to think, well, okay, if I start to think what I have to play every year, I have to get this level. You're going to play with Shelton in practice. If you start to think about that, the chance to play. Accuracy, so then when you see that your player is like, he has the feeling, he is repeating well the right motion, whatever it is, and then after the accuracy for me, it's like precision, because tennis is about precision, it's like lines, it's precision, so every situation, so then every exercise, most of the time when you're at this stage, it's like movement, no movement, closed exercise, it means drills, semi-open exercise. And for example, we'll see on the court after, we will do some line exercise, and this is really important. At the end of this stage, the player has to go out with like not thinking. He's doing the motion, and it's just like the intention to play fast, slow, speed, and to be just in the intention. Not thinking, oh, I'm going to play, it's like automatic. And then, of course, this is like scholar things. It's always like, it's not 100%, but you need to measure for the grip, the intensity of the session. This is, you are really in control. The coach is in control of that. So that is really important to make it clear. And the last one, before going to the competition, it's like playing like open exercise. Like this is the uncertainty of the points, the player needs to adapt. You have to organize practice with important also for them, not always with like clean the balls, clean, you have to change the sparring partner, or you have to, when you are in basket, because you can also work like the pattern in the basket, you have to feed from the right, from the left, you have to feed fast, with speed, you have to challenge your player. Like this is really like the adaptation. And when he's able to do that with a good control of the ball, good precision, then normally he's ready to compete in theory, because there is also, of course, the emotional aspect that you can work on the practice, but the competition is the competition. You cannot escape the pressure of the competition, you just have to deal with it. The player needs to learn all the strategies that they can do when they feel the pressure. But the pressure is good, because it's for a coach. You give it very much. You sit down and you can see really with the pressure what is solid and what is not. Like this, you have the plan. You have the plan to work. Something is solid under pressure. Okay, keep going. Because you are going to go more far with the strength than if you work just on the weakness. Me, I prefer really work more on the strength, natural strength, than to work too much on the weakness. Doesn't mean that you have to don't work the weakness, but in percentage, I prefer when I see a player that he has like ability to move fast, and to go forward, so then it's efficient, and I'm going to go in this direction. So like the same in the 4 dimension. So you have during the match, you have your plan. You can see your plan. You can see, and you can work on that. Here I like, for example, during the practice, I can see, okay, precision of the serve, okay, it's good, so I don't have to repeat too much, but run around the forehand, it's missing a lot, so bam, I'm going to do 10 or 15 minutes of what I saw in the practice. Simple as that. What you see in the practice matches, or in match, you have to repeat. And this part of the competition, internal and external expectation. Competition, internal, external, the duel against the opponent, the fight against you, the expectation from you, from the outside, the judgment, at the high level, and also for the kids, there's a lot of expectation. So that means that it's pressure. So which pressure is good because for the player it's a stress level. So if it's too much, then he's going to squeeze, and if it's not too much, that means it doesn't care. So then it's the pressure. It's really it's a fuel, but at the right amount. So this is a notion that I think it's really important when they are young to talk about that and to start to build some strategy. And for me, as much as you stay simple, better it is. And after maybe if really there is a problem or something more, to go with like a specialist. But with my experience, Tony Nadal is against like a psychologist. But for my experience, it's when the coach or the team they can go with those notions with the player. For example, if the player he has like emotion, frustration. So this is something that you cannot block. The emotion, they are coming. You cannot block the emotion. You have to let it go. But then after it's the time that what you are going to do, that the emotion is not going to last like 2 games or the match. So the player needs to have like simple strategy. And of course, we know that the brief, brief technique, take the time, the posture, those are the simple things that sometimes we forget that simple, it's sometimes it's better. And then you can start, with some expert that are going to explain to you, but to add like another person when they are young, too young, then maybe you can open. It's my point of view. I don't have the truth, and to go too fast with an expert in psychology. For me, I prefer that the coach they are educated themselves. They work with psychologists. What I did, and I still doing. Every year, I pick like a person specialist, and I'm working with him to educate myself. And like this, I can transfer to my work with Felix and with the team. And Felix preferred this way. He was working with psychologists now, but he preferred this way for the moment, wrong or right, we see. But it's definitely Djokovic doing that at another level. Nadal is not doing, even if he's putting the bottle at the right place, which is a kind of routine. He's putting the thing, it's his control. But Tony and Rafa said they never wanted to work with psychology because they are this belief that they build the situation. Okay, the situation, you have to accept the situation, you have to confront the situation. If you are frustrated, that's bad, so you know that it's bad, so don't be frustrated. That's the speech of Tony. But that is like, I will say with my experience, when you can do it as a coach, I think it's better. And then if there is like a big problem, then you can go. But you can nowadays, to do, because for example, meditation, mindfulness is like, we are talking a lot about that. which can be good for somebody, not for another person. You have to find the right tool for your player. That's why it's really important that you educate yourself, and then try with the player to integrate. Okay, let's breathe. When you have to integrate that into practice. After, if he's catching it, then you can go, you can continue, and that's like everything. So, question. I would like to do more because we have all the matches are record, so it's easy to we have like every point. So we have like somebody who's doing that. I would like to do it more, but he doesn't like. And it's something that I'm trying, but he doesn't. So you have to respect what we are doing. No, this is different. For to prepare, that we are preparing with me and watching for that. I know the opponents, we know the strength, we know the stance. So then my role is like to bring all this info to Felix, but like a few ones, like 10, 3, 4 maximum. And sometimes I prepare like some, because it's better to see, like visually what are the good pattern, the bad pattern. Doing that in the preparation.
Why doesn't he like?
He doesn't like to see like he has to improve about the ego. Yes, it takes time, but you have to respect prepare timing. You cannot force the player. That's true, but you can educate, you can talk about, you can open, but in this case, it's like because it's when we see, for example, if I see myself like doing the conference, I will see like bad things. It's not always like place at my head now. They don't care when they are young, and because they need this ego, they need to have like a strong ego as a player, of course, like to. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of expectation. At least since he was young, expectation like big on the players, So it's heavy, so they need to have like a strong ego, and at the same time, they need to be open to the people who are working with him. So sometimes it's like all the players, they're like, so fast 2 minutes. It was like, for me, the important things at different stage. Childhood, 5 to 12. I'm not an expert, but it's like when I talk, it's like to develop the psychomotricity, a lot of different sports, to have this large method of society. Like I said, the laterality and neuroscience, it can help a lot for the technical fundamentals. Education value, always good frame of education. We are educator, we are example. Of course, it's 70% development and 30% competition, more or less. Adolescents to 12 to 18, of course, everybody's different. For the girls, for the boys, can be 8, can be soon. More involvement in the process with your player. You have to build the process with him more and more, understand, to repeat and feel the process. Fitness coach is really, at this age, start to be more important, like to work on the fundamentals, speed, force, and when they start to grow, this is the right peak for the muscle, for the boys, for the girls, to work on that. More volume, more intensity. Really important, big difference. I was playing in the 90s, and most of the players in the 90s, we had like hips flexibility is not too good. And nowadays, the players, they are able to play longer. This is not just this one reason, but the injury prevention, the hips mobility, the shoulder exercise, it made nowadays almost no players have like arthrosis in the hips because they are doing everyday mobilization, specific muscle to work on. So injury prevention is important because when they start to grow, at this moment they can have like stiffness. So of course, after when the technique is clean, which for me is important before 14, 15, at least have a clean technique, which clean technique doesn't mean nothing, it's once again Medvedev, so And then you can really work on the tactical idea. Because if the technique is clean enough, then you can really just work on the tactical idea. How you see your player, be it top 50 or top 10, which what will be the strength, what is the evolution of the tennis, it's really important to work on that at this age, because you can see Nadal, Federer, they were playing the same way when they were young, but they learned there. That's why it's important, because I saw, for example, some players, they were playing more tactically. They were playing, for example, they didn't have endurance, and they were playing on the baseline, running side to side. No chance, you know. When I say the right tactic, it's really important to align the tactical idea with the natural physical strength and mental strength. If somebody is too emotional, then it's going to be tough for him to take a lot of risks. So maybe he needs to be a more solid player and to do some rallies more. So that's really important to deal with that. Like I said before, start to build a simple mental routine with the kids, you know? Talk about the breathe, the present moment, visualization, take the time, the posture. So self-education, and then of course it's going more and more competition, even in junior now it's more competition, so then you start to have less time to. That's why the last one I said, if you did well the first and two blocks, technical, tactical, injury prevention, then after, at the transition to tour level, you will just have to deal with the competition more, not just with the technique or with the tactic, like a house. If you have a good foundation, then it's going to be more solid. And of course, with the transition to the pro, you need to, some federations are helping the player, but most of the time they need to build a team. And the players start to build both, because it's about displaying the coach, the team, you know.